It's a weird day. There's a lot going on in the NBA. 9 games are on. I'm going to talk about the injuries, the fallouts, the performances, the ads, the drops, and everything else in between, including Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and don't forget to buy the dip and sell the bump and follow me for a crypto ape board something. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on TikTok, not on TikTok, that's not now, Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Built. Start earning points on rent that you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That is joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Also, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. And we are available on all platforms. Hit the thumb and the double bang and the 90K sub mark. We're getting there. We're getting there. Watch the videos, listen to the audios, all that stuff. We're good to go. Okay. We might as well just bang in here because there's lots for us to talk about. Let's get into the news, things that, I'm not going to cover probably in any other spot. Let's do it now. We've got news. Devin Vassell is out tomorrow, but he will return on Wednesday. So that is good news as he deals with another injury. Foot surgery, and now back with a knee problem. But he is returning on Wednesday, so it's a W there. And then Jordan Clarkson got ruled out for Utah as well. So just be aware of that. We've only got 5 games on Tuesday, so anyone who's available and playing is going to have some value. They also Utah did Cody Williams down to the G League. So we're going to get a lot of Colin Sexton. We're going to get Isaiah Collier. We're going to get, I guess, Johnny Juzang. Old mate, is he on ESPN yet? Anyway, he's going to be someone to take a look at over there. That's those bits of news. There. We'll talk about the other stuff in the games as we cover them, which we'll do right now. Actually, we won't do that right now because what I want to tell you is just looking at the individual trends over the last 48 hours across fantasy basketball waiver wires. Who has been added, who has been dropped. The number one most added player in the wake of Grant Williams' injury is Moussa Diabate. He came off the bench today. We'll talk about that in the Hornets game. Obviously, that made sense. Malcolm Brogdon's an ad. There's a stream value there in adding in Brogdon. I am skeptical of the long-term stuff, but I don't think that really matters that much. And we had people absolutely chasing the milk production. Old mate Ty Jerome, he dolloped his way to a huge performance yesterday, and people were very, very in on it. I am going to remain incredibly skeptical. He's not a 55% three-point shooter. Levert, Strus, and Wade were all out. Good production. But I'm going to be pretty skeptical about this one long term, but I get it. I get why people did it. Najee Marshall was added. That makes sense with the absences and then the injuries popping up today for Dallas. So yeah, cool, no problem. TJ McConnell with the absences of Nembhard, Neesmith, and Shepard. I think he is a really strong adder. And people did make the move to go and add the Flamin' Galar, Alf Stewart. Isaiah Stewart was good again today. And he is looking somehow amazingly like a 12-team league guy. I don't really know how it's happening, but it is happening. What about who was dropped? Any of these incorrect decisions? Let's have a look. Grant Williams, well, that's obviously the correct decision. Bub Carrington has been dropped. No problem at all with that. I think later on in the year it's going to be okay, but we're not there now. Delano Banton dropped. People going down like absolute flyers for Portland today. We'll talk about that later and look at Banton's line. Zach Collins dropped. Obviously, with Wemby back, he's a move on from. Brandon Podziemski dropped. He's doing absolutely nothing, so cool for that. And then Tamani Kamara. That's a curious one. I didn't really see Kamara being the the 6th most dropped player over the last 48 hours, but here we are. It happened. I think that, again, we'll talk about the Blazers when we get to that game a little bit later on. But yeah, that was curious just to see that one there. Let's just talk games then. The first game of the day, it was the Toronto Raptors and the Detroit Pistons. Let's talk about the Toronto side of things. We didn't have Dick in this game. Grady was out with that calf issue, which is not a surprise, and I think there's a chance that he misses just a little bit more time here. That is a standard sort of soft tissue worry that you're going to have. And what they did with their Dick out, they were able to put Davion Mitchell back into the starting lineup. I won't say that went particularly well. He had 3 points in 31 minutes. He did have 3 assists, if that tickles your bits. and he had a steal. He is just an absolutely horrific offensive player. I would prefer if they just give all those minutes to Jamal Shed, to be honest. We're done with Mitchell. Like, how much more do we need to see of this? See you later. Speaking of how much more do we need to see, I have been incredibly down on Ochai Agbaji. Hey, by the way, the people who would send me memes of Masai Ujiri when Agbaji would have a good game and say, maybe Masai knows. They're a little quiet of late. They're just slightly, maybe they just don't have internet connection. I'm not sure. I have been incredibly down on Agbaji as a player, and he did start the season off really well, but all of that, the hamstrings, that sounds like I'm talking about an injury. All of the parts of his game that make him bad and the fantasy irrelevancy is on show. Over the last 2 weeks, Agbaji's averaged 31 minutes a game. Not a top 200 category league player. He's only 147th in points leagues, and he played 24 minutes and went scoreless. Missed all 4 of his shots and had 1 rebound. And it has never brought me any more joy to jack somebody off than Ochai Agbaji. Yeah, we don't roster him. Let's talk Scotland Barnes, who played 37 minutes, so I guess there's no restrictions anymore. 31, 14, and 7, steal on a block. We love that. I've been a little bit worried about where the percentages were sitting. They were totally good here. Love it, love it, love it. 28 minutes for Jakob Poeltl. Only 36% from the field. Not really sure what's going on with his field goals the last 2 games. But 8 and 11 with 2 blocks there. Had some foul issues, but I wouldn't worry too much. And then Rowan Barrett, again with the field goals, my guy. What is happening? If he is going to remain an absolute stinker as a field goal player, which he wasn't in Toronto last season, then his category league value does become a little bit more concerning. Although, saying that, he is still a top 100 player over the last 2 weeks, he got 17, 3, and 2 here. What else here? A solid game from the wiki. Chris Boucher, 10 and 7 with a 1-1 in 22 minutes. He is actually playing well, but look who's out. Quickly, Dick, Olynyk, Bruce Brown, and I think we get Brown back in the next game. Dick, I'm not sure. Quickly's going to be a little bit more time, but we could have Brown, Dick, all the way back into the lineup next game. And that would change so much about Mitchell, about Agbaji, and probably would change Boucher as well in that one. The Detroit side of this equation, well, there was no Cade Cunningham, so they rolled out the same starting lineup as last game, and Jaden Ivey hit the game winner. 36 minutes for Ivey, 25, 5 and 8 with a steal on 77%. Now, when he was absolutely blowing up in the preseason, this is what was happening. He was shooting insane numbers, and he does benefit, obviously, from Cade being out. So, look, yes, we're rostering him, and he's putting up really strong numbers, but his overall ceiling is capped by his fantasy profile when Cade is there. We'll talk about the center spot because Alf Stewart played 23 minutes. He had 9 and 7 with 3 blocks. I think that's 8 blocks in his last 2 games, old Mr. Stewart. He's a top 100 player over the last 2 weeks, and I don't know if these blocks are real. I find it hard to believe it, but if we're doing a timeshare, which it appears we are, Stewart's at least someone to consider. As for Duran, much better. 13, 12, and 4 with 4 blocks. Shot 57%. He was a plus 16 and Stewart was a minus 16, but still, they shared minutes, which is not a great sign for Duran moving forward. We're holding just for now. While the Thick Hogsman played 37 minutes. 12, 3, and 2 is by absolutely no one's measure a good game. He shot 30% again. He did get to the line 6 times, and he was 5 of 6. I am holding Tobias Harris. I'm holding the Thick Hogsman. It's been a very rough shooting run. And Leaky Beasley had 14 points. Probably the most interesting is that Malik Beasley took the most shots on his team, 16. Only 25% went in, but 14 and 3 with 5 assists. That's enough for me to hold. But what we got, I buried the lead a little bit. Asar Thompson played 16 minutes, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 25%. Now that is a standard Asar Thompson sort of thing, just filling it up in little areas, can't hit shots. I remain very concerned about the overall minutes upside with this team and the way that they need the spacing. But if you do have Asar Thompson, you hold through the ramp-up period to see where best case settles in. I am going to, again, I remain concerned about where the minutes end up at the end of this. We've got 8 more games we've got to cover, but before we get to that, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at Built, B-I-L-T. You're already, I'm guessing, if you're renting, you're paying rent. Well, I would assume you are, because that's what you do when you're renting. And when you're renting, the money's there, you pay it, you do that, you get your lodging, but everything else that you seem to buy, you can get reward points. Well, you can do that with renting now as well, and that's where Built can come in. There's no cost to go and join Built, and as a member, you will earn valuable points on rent and your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones that you haven't heard of. There's over 500 airlines and over 700,000 hotels and properties around the world that you can redeem your Built points towards. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points on your rent, well, why not? Start earning points on rent that you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That is joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL, which is that one I just read out. Make sure to use our URL so that they know that we sent you. That is joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood Gold. Yes, Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and the perks that are usually reserved for the high society. Now, any resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. That will be a good time now for me to get into talking about the second game of the day. We're talking about our Orlando Magic. And the Charlotte Hornets. They go into Charlotte, the Magic do, and they get the victory in a very magic sort of scoreline, 95-84. Jalen Suggs was off the injury report when we spoke last on this show, on a recap show. But, of course, he was out with a hamstring injury because it's a hamstring injury. Why do these guys continually not respect the hamstring gods? I will never, ever, ever understand. It's not like there's evidence of this. Like, there's probably no evidence of any of this stuff being a problem at any point. So why, that makes sense that the NBA would ignore it. What is actually going on? So Suggs is out, and they said it's precautionary. Yeah, a precautionary rest to let his hamstring heal up from where he strained it. And then Gary Harris replaced him in the starting lineup. Guess what happened to Gary Harris today? Yeah, pinged a hamstring. And then they said, we'll see how it goes. I'm telling you now, old mate Jamal Mosley, he's out. It's Gary Harris. He's not playing. Let's talk about Franz Wagner, who started the game pretty poorly, but who cares? 40 minutes, 21 and 7 assists and 4 steals and 2 blocks and 2 threes. He was bad at the line, but he continues to absolutely roast these guys. Top 10 player over the last 2 weeks, and I would sell high. If I could get a top 15-ish, top 20 player back, I would do it. Johnny Isaac, good minutes again. 11 points, 3 threes, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Shot horribly, but took a lot of shots, and man, that's enough for me. That's enough for me to roster him, and then we'll assess it later on. With no Suggs, with no Harris, no Banchero, no Wendell Carter Jr., we got other players having to step up. Tristan Da Silva wasn't one of them, neither was KCP, who had 3 points in 29 minutes, and you do not need to roster Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Get that garbage out of here. But with these guys injured, you do have to consider Mr. Black. Now, Anthony Black came off the bench. He started the second half with Harris out. But he only played 22 minutes, 10 points, 2 threes, 3 steals, 23% shooting. He's going to have better games. He'll have worse games. He's a nice assists, steals, and out-of-position blocks player. But while guys are out, I don't mind rostering him. Long-term, I'm not really there. 22 minutes for Goga Badadze, 6 and 4, steal and a block. Honestly, if you need to move on, if you need to add somebody else, if another option's appearing, drop him. Get that garbage out of here. You don't have to. But what he's doing at the moment is fine, Goga. It's not blowing us away. And Wendell is still to return. And then Cole Anthony is the other one we really have to watch. 27 minutes, 16, 8 and 4 with 2 threes. That's a very good game. And if Suggs and Harris are out, I don't mind. And I believe that Harris will definitely be out. I think Suggs should be out, but I don't know. I would, at least in deeper formats, consider Cole Anthony a little bit of an ad here. It would make some sense. The Hornets, without Grant Williams, made multiple changes to the starting lineup. We had Moussa Diabate, who started the last game, came off the bench, and they started Tijan Salin. And then with Grant Williams out, Taj Gibson moved into that starting lineup. Remember, Miles Bridges, Mark Williams, BD and R are all out, and they're all coming back pretty soon. LaMelo Ball just 94 points in the last 2 games. 40 minutes for Ball, 44, 9 and 7, 4 3, steal and a block, 57% shooting. If you took the plunge on LaMelo in the first round this season, congratulations so far. He has been more than you expected. Now it's just about staying healthy. Brandon Miller is on a really hot run. Now, unfortunately, he didn't shoot well, but 20 and 10 with 2 threes, 4 assists, and a steal. It is going to be different when Bridges is back, but he is cooking. And if you did add Diabate, I'm sure your heart sank when you saw that he was coming off the bench. But honestly, he just did the thing. He is never going to score. I mean, I know that's hyperbolic because he scored 2 points, but he scored 2 points. But he had 8 rebounds. He had 2 steals. He had 4 blocks, and that's what you've got him for. Now, this will all end when Bridges, Williams, Richards come back. He's just not going to play enough. But for now, sure. Salam played 30 minutes. He had 1 point. This man is so far away from being ready, and it's only a deeper league scenario that you look at him. Well, Josh Green played a lot of minutes. Good for him. He had 2 points in 29. I thought we'd get a little bit more Cody Martin, and we didn't. 4, 6, and 2. He sort of played the same role. He's okay as a stream guy, but I'm not sitting there thinking that Cody Martin is any sort of a must-roster player. We do have a very, very intriguing game to talk about now because the New Orleans Pelicans took on the Indiana Pacers and the Pelicans got players back. Well, they got somebody back. It was CJ McCollum. There's still no Herb. There's still no Alvarado. There's still no Zion. And then, of course he did. Brandon Ingram was out. And no DeJounte now. DeJounte's going to be back in the next game and maybe Ingram's back as well. But let's just start with Lord Elfrid Payton, who has been out of the NBA for years and came back, played 31 minutes, had 14 and 7, and just a casual 21 assists with 2 steals and 64% shooting. I don't really know how to judge that. I mean, I know how to judge it. It's ridiculously good, right? But next game, you might have CJ and DeJounte and Ingram all playing. And then 2 games later, you might have Herb playing. So, does Payton even play? He probably does, but CJ and DeJounte would guess, handle all of the point guard jobs. But I don't know. So, if you want to have a crack at Payton, by all means, but it doesn't really profile as a great spot moving forward. They started Daniel Tice again, and I don't really know why. He had 8 points in 17 minutes, but we got big minutes out of Yves Missi. This is probably the best game we've seen from Missi. 16 and 13, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and his numbers have been incredibly low. Is this because Payton was there? Is it because of the return of CJ McCollum? I don't know, but it was good, and I don't mind. We have a look at it. If you want to add, okay, I'm cool with that. We'll talk about CJ McCollum, who was, just good to have him back. 31 minutes, 23, 4 and 1. That's nothing spectacular, but he's there. And what about 40 minutes for Ken Murphy III? Trey had 24, 6 and 4. Unfortunately, pretty rough from the line, but he is... I know that Trey Murphy's on waiver wires in some spots. Just, please, come on. We need to go and add him. Well, I think we can... I was going to make a terribly lame joke, but I won't do that. We can just get rid of BJ.
Get that garbage out of here.
It was fun. BJ, it was a really good run from you, Boston, but you're done 9 points, 26 minutes, and Jordan Hawkins. People are still rosting Jordan Hawkins, by the way, in 12s, and you shouldn't be doing it in 14s. He had 2 and 2. He actually had the bad Richie Bennett, the 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in his 18 minutes. On the Indiana Pacers side of the ledger, they rolled out the same starting lineup as the last game, and chat. Are we back? Are we back? Is Tyrese Haliburton back? Are we all going snow angeling tonight? Because we're back, maybe. 34, 3 and 13, 3 steals and 9 threes on 52%. I'll tell you what this tells me. This tells me one thing. Does it tell me that he's back? No. Does it tell me that we're going to be rolling as a first-round player? No. But it tells me that, it's still there. And there was something weird and there was a slump and all that sort of stuff. So we're good. I am desperate now, not because I want to see him fail, but I'm desperate to see if he's able to turn in a good game on the road at some point coming up. But at the moment, this is pretty encouraging. Ben Mathurin, 2 bad shooting nights in a row, but he has been... Now, back at Arizona, he was a very good rebounder. But in the NBA, he has not been until this season. Now he's absolutely just tearing it up. Another 9 boards for him. And Pascal Siakam had 14, 7 and 7 in a very Pascal Siakam line. Miles Turner was questionable heading in, but he played. He had 17 and 9 in his 28 minutes on the back-to-back and the C-parter. This is why you don't rush to grab Moses Brown. He had 6 and 2. They are finally realizing that they wasted $15 million a year on Obi Toppin. Maybe it's not 15. It's close enough to that. It's funny that I'll make the joke. Who cares? Maybe it's 12. Whatever. 7 points in 16 minutes for him, and Jarris Walker was 2-2. And yeah, he also might be bad. He is doing absolutely nothing. We got good minutes out of Quentin Jackson, ESPN availability legend. Played 32 minutes. He had 12, 2 and 4 with 4 threes. It's a nice little deep league ad. And I continue to think that there is something in TJ McConnell, although maybe, I don't know if there's anything in TJ McConnell, but it's weird to see him not get an assist. But he did have 2 steals and a block, played 21 minutes, and I do like him as an option for us now, while all of these players remained sidelined, which is going to be for a little bit more time. We've got more stuff to talk about, way more stuff to talk about. Before we do that, though, I'm going to tell you about something that's been on my mind. And what has been on my mind? Well, undies. Because I'm wearing them. Yes, you wouldn't know it by looking at my face because that's not where you wear them. You wear them down here, and that is something that I sit on all day. And you don't want anything uncomfortable surrounding your prized possessions. Well, that's what Skims is able to do. The most comfortable underwear you'll see. You've heard people, women, girls, partners, friends, sisters, whoever, talk about Skims. But now they've branched out. They're bringing the blokes in. Skims Men's is here. Cotton, stretch, boxer briefs, 3 inches, 5 inches. Colors, styles, melodies, dreams. It's all there in Skims. And you want this pair of undies. We want more than one pair. Actually, I've got 2 pairs of them. Love them. So comfortable. And when we are, as guys, we're always looking for comfort in the underwear region. And that is exactly what Skims gives us. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com/lockedonnba and let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, which is also available at skims.com/lockedonnba. Okay. Let's go on to the next game, I'm thinking. Yeah, that would be a really, really good idea. Where are we? It is the 4th game of the day. It is the Boston Celtics absolutely cooking the LA Clippers 126-94. The Clippers rolling out with that same starting group again. Didn't really expect much to change there. There was the smallest of small updates on Kawhi Leonard saying, yeah, we're taking it slow. Like, thank you, Ty Lue. Like, wasn't aware of that. Thank you for telling me that you are taking it slow as you are. Cool. On the Clippers side of the ledger, Jimmy Harden had 19, 8, and 9, which is totally okay in 30 minutes, and Zubats had 23 and 10, which is more than okay. And Chris Dunn. This is a Chris Dunn line. 22 minutes is not very good, and 2 points is horrid. But he had 3 steals, he had a block, he had 4 rebounds. He is a stream-level player. Derek Jones had 11 points. He's also a streamer, and Amir Coffey is actually probably below that. 4 points in 25 minutes as he continues to start. My man, Jordan Miller, he did it again, though. I'm sure all the double Onyx, Platinum, Diamond, Titanium leagues have already added Miller. They added him weeks ago. But he played 20 minutes. He had 10 points. He had a steal. Jordan Miller is just like, while Norman Powell is out, there's a little bit there for the deeper leagues. I don't think it's going to last long term. I wish it would, but I don't think that it will. Cousin Kevin Porter Jr. was bad again. He just, 7, 2, and 1. Bad field goals, bad free throws. That's who he is. I don't think we're bothering with him in 12-team formats. We also got Kai Jones back into the rotation because Mo Bamba, who has the healthiest knees you've ever seen. The doctors told him nobody's ever seen knees like him. They're the best knees ever. He won't need to do anything because they're just the most unbelievable knees of all time. He had to rest due to his knee on a back-to-back, so Kai Jones was able to step into that rotation. What about the Celtics? Well, it was a back-to-back, so of course they rested old mate Al Horford. I'm just realizing, did I put the wrong screen up there? I hope I didn't. But anyway, the Celtics brought back Kristaps Porzingis. Yes, Porzingis is back. Can you believe that? Al Horford was out. Porzingis started. But of course it was Neemias Queta, like 0-minute legend from yesterday that actually popped off. 12 and 9, 2 steals and 4 blocks. Now, like, what do I do with this? There was no Cornet. There was no Horford. Queta's probably not going to play most nights now. And the confusion just comes back in. Like, how do I judge this? That's great. But all these other games that I've been going, hey, maybe we try Queta, and he's been doing nothing, is really frustrating. As for Porzingis, 23 minutes, 16 and 6, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Couldn't ask for anything more. He's going to be limited. He's going to miss back-to-backs, but that is just an unbelievably quick return. Peyton Pritchard had also been struggling, and he was able to really go off. He had 20 points with 6 threes, 4 assists, and 2 steals. I do worry a little bit about where he sort of fits when the whole team is there, and it's not a 30-point blowout, but this was good. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jason Tatum, all just doing their bits and pieces, but Jrue Holiday once again did not. 20% shooting, no defensive stats, 6 assists. I think we sort of have to understand that this is probably just the new Jrue Holiday, and you're going to have some occasional good games, but you're not going to have them all the time. C'est la vie. Still holding him for now, though. The Dallas Mavericks and the Atlanta Hawks. The Mavericks win at 129-119. There was no Luka, no Clay, no Quentin Grimes. And then Derek Lively left in the first half and didn't return with an illness. Lively had 2-4 and 2 with 2 blocks. Don't drop him because of this. That meant that we got more Dan Gafford, but not much more. 10, 9, and 3 with 2 blocks. And what we also got was PJ Washington playing 38 minutes. 11 and 10 with 4 assists and 3 blocks. PJ is on a real heater at the moment. I'd say sell high, but no one is going to do anything with that. And then Kyrie Irving had 32, 7, and 6 with 6 threes. Really, really good game from Kyrie outside of the shooting. So who sort of stepped up with those players out? Well, we had 3 players scored 20 points plus. Najee Marshall had 22 and 6. Spencer Dinwiddie, he of the 8% shooting yesterday, had 22 points in 36 minutes with 4 threes. And Jaden Hardy, who started, had 23, 3 and 2 with 3 steals. I find it very hard to get excited about any of that because Clay and Grimes probably back in the next game. Both were out with an illness. And actually, Clay was out with a foot issue. And Doncic is going to be back as well. And literally just look at Dinwiddie from yesterday and don't get excited. Look at Hardy from yesterday and don't get excited. Maybe Marshall has a little bit more stability in his overall minutes, but I don't think there's anything to get like massively over-indexed or over-invested in there. Let's go on to the other side here with the Atlanta Hawks. Same lineup for them. Jalen Johnson, 28-11, 3 steals, a block. He's great. Trey, still the shot's not quite there, but yeah, 18, 2, and 16 with 3 steals is pretty hard to complain about. And what is awesome about this game is Dyson Daniels played 35 minutes. He had 17 points. He got 2 steals and 2 blocks. And Bogdanovic played 28 minutes and had 18 points. He didn't have much more there, Bogdanovic, but it's still good to see both of those guys hitting their minute mark at the same time. The guys who didn't are guys that just I don't think should be rostered. DeAndre Hunter, well, he hit his minutes mark, I guess. He played 31 of them and had 9 points on 27%. He is one of the most empty players in the entire NBA, and the guy that's starting in front of him is not far away. Ricochet played 17 minutes for 5, 2, and 2. They both shot under 30%, and they are very, very, very clear jack guys.
Get that garbage out of here.
And I actually think we can do it to Onyeka Okongwu.
Get that garbage out of here.
Okongwu played 22 minutes. He had 8 and 7. And while I still like Okongwu, if he was playing 26 a night, he's not, so you don't have to hold him. It's been a frustrating ride the whole way through. We keep getting edged and tipped and all this sort of stuff. But move on. It's not going to happen consistently enough to hold through this. It is annoying. People think that I love Okongwu, some game-changing set. I don't believe that at all. I think he's a pretty good player, and I would love to have seen him get more opportunities, but he hasn't, so you just move on. We just move on now. The next game, the Portland Trailblazers. They got cooked by the Grizzlies, and there was a bit of chaos in this game, injury-wise. Don Clingan did not play with a knee injury. Robert Williams started in his place. DeAndre Ayton was still out. I'm a little worried here about where Clingan goes from here, and I know it wasn't a good game from Robert Williams, but I would be rostering Robert. Rob played only 12 minutes. He had 6 and 3 with 1 steal and 3 blocks, and honestly, that's still fine. Now, he did cop a hit in the head and is being evaluated for concussion, which is obviously frustrating. I would try to hold on to Williams here because I do think there are going to be some opportunities opening up a little bit longer term. Shaedon Sharp, I think just overall, I'm not sure his fantasy game is there. 30 minutes, 15 points, 33%. He did have 2 blocks, which is just not normal for him. He is a rosterable player, but yeah, I'm a little worried. And then, of course, they lost the Ides of March, Jerami Grant, with a knee problem. 11 points in 21 minutes. Simons was dreadful again. 5 points with 4 assists and 2 steals on 14%. Simons is just not a good player, I don't think. He's just a very empty, no defense sort of a guy. He did have 2 steals, though, which is unbelievable for him. With Scoot dealing with some injuries, Thibault still out, Simons sucking, and Grant out and Williams hurt, and there's opportunities for guys here. And Delano Benton got 24 minutes. He had 11, 2, and 2. That's okay. I think when Simons and Scoot play, it's going to be hard for him to do anything, but we keep an eye. He's a little bit of a stash guy. And then we had Kamara have 10 and 8 with 3 assists and 2 steals. This was also a much better game from Denny Avdia. His last couple of games have been very good. He's playing a little bit more small ball center, 17, 8, and 6, steal, block, 2 threes. Now, of course, when the team was healthy, he was playing like 24 minutes a night. But Grant out, Williams out, Ayton out, Klingon out, Scoot out, Thibault out, Chris Murray out, and they'll say Grant out as well. So, yeah, while they're out, Avdia gets the big boost. We'll see if he's able to hold on to the role. He's already lost the starting position. We'll see where he goes from here, but that is super encouraging from Denny, albeit with a bunch of guys out, enabling him to do just that little bit more. Now, if Williams is out, and Klingon, and Ayton, Jabari Walker is going to be interesting, 9 and 6. So is Dwop Reith, who only played 5 minutes here. He could get more. They started him last season. He was relatively productive. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a long-term investment for those guys because I don't know about Williams here in this concussion. But they are going to be your options, Walker and Reith. But I would prioritize Avdia over those guys for that short-term little boost. Memphis, on the other hand, they've been dealing with injuries all season, as you're probably well aware, and they're getting some guys back. Ja Morant returned, Marcus Smart returned, and that meant that Scottie Pippen went to the bench. Scottie Pippen was the 11th man of the rotation. Scottie Pippen played 14 minutes. He had 3, 4, and 4. He shot 25%, and like I've been saying for a while, I don't think it's going to stick, and it did not.
Get that garbage out of here.
Jalen Wells played 16 minutes for 5 points, and Desmond Bane only 24 minutes. Again, this was a blowout really, really early on, so I wouldn't be too concerned about the minutes for a lot of these block guys, but the fact that Pippen was the 11th guy to play means that I don't think we want to hold in 12s. Morant had 22 with 11 assists, which is just ridiculous in those minutes, and Jaren had 21 and 6. LaRavia was able to sort of keep the value going. 8, 5, and 5, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He's been on the fringes of 12 for a little bit of time. I don't know that it lasts, but he was there. I don't think I'd bother with Marcus Smart, who had 4 assists and 2 steals, and Aldama had 13 and 17. But if you've got Aldama, if you've got Smart, if you've got Pippen, if you've got Huff, who had 12 and 4, I don't think these guys are must-roster players. It's going to get very Golden State Warrior-y with a million guys playing, and this is without Edie, Gigi, and Vince. It's going to be a lot of minute suppression, a lot of randomness in the rotations. Jackson, Morant, Bane, all rosterable. Everyone else, very borderline. Like, very, very borderline. In fact, maybe not even borderline, maybe just droppable. And Pippen's been great, and Aldama's been good. But if you're needing a spot and you've got him, I think cutting bait is absolutely a decision that can be made, and I don't think you'd feel too much regret there. All right, let's go on to the next game, which was a blowout. You wouldn't really know it by looking at the Knicks' minutes totals, but they beat the Nuggets 145-118, and that maniac Tom Thibodeau kept everyone in and brought guys back into the game despite being up 25 points in the final quarter. We had 38 minutes from the Jedi, OG Anunoby. What is going on with this man at the moment? This is one of the biggest sell highs you'll see. 40 points in 38 minutes for Anunoby. He hit 5 threes and he shot 70% from the field. He was really quite poor and struggling to begin the year. And we're seeing him put up some huge numbers, and the same with Towns. Towns is actually your 5th ranked player this season. 30 and 15 with 3 steals, 80% shooting, and he has been even better than I thought. And the Jalen Brunson little turnaround is still going. 23 points, 17 assists, which is crazy, 4 threes. He is, back in business now, which is great after, again, a slow start. Mikal Bridges is the only one who's probably not right where you want him. 14 points, 38%, 6 assists, no defensive stats. Really, really struggling. I wouldn't think that we're dropping him, but it's not looking great. And it was also a lower minute night from Josh the Hitman Hart. Just the 28 minutes from Hart. He'd been playing a million minutes. He had foul trouble here, though. 12 and 6 with 5 assists. We had 28 minutes from Juice McBride in his return. 13 points, 3 threes, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. McBride's an interesting player. He's one of those guys that you can consider a stash because if Anunoby or Brunson or Hart or Bridges go down, he'll play 38 minutes. And in games like this, is enough there. But with him returning, that meant that Campaign just didn't do as much. Now, if you had Payne, you're still okay with this. Campaign had 11 points. He had 5 assists. He hit 2 threes. He played 18 minutes. All the double Onyx, Diamond, Platinum, Titanium legends will have been in on this. I think that in a lot of 12s, now that McBride is back, you can consider moving on. But remember that Payne has had an ability this season to put up some pretty good numbers for this squad. Of course, we had 2 minutes of garbage time for Kolek, Daddier, and Ryan because, again, Tom Thibodeau is a legitimate maniac. And I'll say that's why we love him, but maybe we do until someone gets hurt. Let's talk about the Nuggets. They rolled in with the same starting group, and they just got cooked. Now, you're going to look at this and go, man, Russ, he's back. Should I add him? I don't think so. 27 points in 26 minutes for Westbrook. He had 4 threes, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He shot 56% and was a perfect 5 of 5 from line. That is actually really good. But he did most of his damage in garbage time in the fourth quarter when the game was over and didn't really matter. And the fact that he was playing in garbage time should tell you a lot. Now, I've got no problem if you want to stream Russ in. He's a top 100 player over the last 2 weeks. He's 96 for the season in points leagues, and he probably should be on a points league roster. But I wouldn't be overreacting to this performance. Big Chungus, 32 minutes, 22, 7 and 7 from Jokic. That's actually a really down game for him, and still pretty good, obviously. And the Headmaster had 20 and 4 with 7 assists. Porter had 18 and 10, and we are actually starting to see the slowdown of Christian Brown. He's not bad at all, but a lot of that early season stuff has cooled off a bit. 14, 1 and 2, a steal and a block. Okay. Not a great game from Peyton Watson. In fact, it was pretty bad. 22 minutes, 6 points, and literally nothing else. I do believe in category leagues that Peyton Watson's a guy that we have to hold. In points leagues, it's more debatable. But we got an update, which I know people will panic on, about Aaron Gordon saying he has no timetable to return and he's out indefinitely. And all that means is that they're not telling us when he's returning. It doesn't mean that he's out for 6 months. It doesn't mean that he's out for the year. It doesn't mean that he's out for 2 months. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means they're just not telling us. It's not a great thing. You'd love them to say, yeah, he's back in a week, but it doesn't mean doom and gloom. I still believe that you are holding Peyton Watson, and this not great performance doesn't really change my mind on that. I think we still need to keep going with him and using him. And just then, for those of you in the old, the double platinum, onyx, diamond, titanium leagues, keep an eye on my man, Trey Alexander. Now, he didn't do anything good. He had 2 points. That's not good at all. But he's playing minutes. And for those of you who are in those expert leagues and the high-level leagues and the high stakes where everyone's the shark and they're killing everybody. In fact, I've heard of like murders as punishment for finishing last in those leagues. Well, that's how we play, life and death. Trey Alexander's getting minutes. And sometimes minutes are important when you're just trying to find something. Not doing anything good. Don't get me wrong. He's not doing anything good. But he is playing in the rotation for the time being. And that's something that I can't say the same about for Dario Saric. All right, let's do the next game. This has got to be a candidate for the worst loss of the season for the Warriors. The Nets, 128-120. Dennis Schroeder did return, so there is that for Brooklyn, but they didn't have Ben Simmons. He was resting, and Jalen Wilson also moved into the starting lineup because Nick Claxton was out. So if we have a look at the Nets team and who was in and who was out, there was no Claxton, there was no Finney Smith, there was no Simmons, there was no Noah Clowney, who I think is going to miss a little bit more time, and then in-game Cam Johnson left, and then Cam Thomas left also. So how did they do it? Unbelievable stuff from Dennis Schroeder, 31, 5 and 7 with 2 steals. He'd been really trending downwards, but with everybody out, he shouldered more of the load and was great. And Ziaire Williams has also been terrible lately. And he played 37 minutes, he had 19 and 9, 4 assists, 2 steals and 2 threes. If Cam Johnson is going to miss, and I think he might, it's an ankle sprain. He played through it for a little bit, and Cam Thomas is clearly banged up. I think you can look at Ziaire Williams. You could also look at Jalen Wilson. The volleyball had 18 and 6 with 3 threes in 41 minutes. They're just going to have to play. This is how down bad they were because Tyrese Martin played 18 minutes. You'll be like, who? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. He played for the Long Island Nets last season, I believe. Now, even I'm like doubting that on Tyrese Martin. We obviously don't need to roster him. Second half, Keon Johnson started. He had 8 points in 30 minutes. And Shake Milton had 13 points in 28. That is how far back they were. Now, Claxton probably plays the next game. Simmons will definitely play the next game. Finney Smith, maybe. Clowney, probably not. Thomas and Johnson, we've got to be up in the air with those guys as to whether they're available. But obviously, there is value there in Jalen Wilson. There is value there in Ziaire Williams if Johnson and or Thomas, or if both, happen to be on the outs in terms of injury stuff. The Golden State Warriors, just horrid to lose this game. Honestly, you should not lose that game. It's just, it's not good enough against a team that had nobody. Steph played only 29 minutes. He had 28, 4 and 7 with 8 triples. Draymond with just another brutal shooting night from both the field and the line. He had 6 points. He did have 7 rebounds and 7 assists, but no defensive stats. Better game from Porzingis, but we're still not adding 7, 1, and 6. There was no Kuminga in this one. The bucket was ill. And Gary Payton played 22 useless minutes. Not really useless. 8, 9, and 4 with 2 steals. Old mate Lindy Waters. Look, he is actually turning into at least like a 16-team stream option. Maybe 14. 13 and 4, 2 threes, 1 steal, 1 block. That is multiple threes in 5 of the last 6 games. And that's useful. And he's getting good minutes. Trace Jackson-Davis, this is why we don't look at him as a must-roster player. If it's 22 a night, sure, but it's 17 here. 8 and 3 with 2 blocks. While Andy Wiggins has been playing well, he was fine here. 18, 4, and 1, nothing super, super exciting. And Moody had 15 points in his 16 minutes. But overall, pretty disappointing. I think we still just sit with Steph, with Dre, with Wiggins. We consider Lindy for the deep leagues. I didn't even mention Buddy Hield, a top 10 global Hoops Hype global rating player in the league legend, had 9 points in 17 minutes with 2 steals on 25% shooting. And if you haven't done it already, and I know you haven't because he sits at 100% rostered on our advanced roster metric on Basketball Monster, Buddy Hield. This is how much we need to get rid of him.
Get that garbage out of here! Get that garbage out of here! Get that garbage out of here! Get that garbage out of here!
And maybe that's being a little bit harsh, but why do people believe in this guy? Or what are you believing in? He'll have better stretches, absolutely. But under no circumstance is Buddy Hield a must roster player. The final game of the day was the Oklahoma City Thunder. They cooked the Kings, and the Kings continue to struggle, which is not a surprise. 130-109. There was no Alex Caruso for the Thunder. They went in with a different starting lineup. Kaysen Wallace moved to the bench, and Isaiah Hartenstein started. Let's start with Hartenstein, who did cop a whack in the face. He played 32 minutes, 17 and 10 with 4 assists, and he is going to put up some very, very big numbers. And speaking of big numbers, Jalen Williams is ridiculous. I haven't looked at it, but he would have to be an all-star at this point. 28, 4 and 5, 2 steals and a block, elite shooting, unbelievable volume. We thought there'd be a big step forward for Jalen this season, but I didn't think this, not in a million years. He's actually at the moment better than Shea. And I don't think that holds, but he is. Which is just ludicrous stuff. Shea had 37, 4, and 11 on elite percentage. Well, elite field goals. What's going on with that free throw? 64% on 11 attempts is actually pretty harmful, Shea. So I don't like to see that. And then we had the Oklahoma City mudflap. Kenrich Williams with 10, 5, and 4. And then all the other nonsense guys. How about Lou Dort? Lou Dorting, 0 points. He had 10 rebounds. He had 2 steals. He had a block. Took 2 shots and played 39 minutes. I still think that Dort is streamable, but yeah, that's pretty rough. And then Kaysen Wallace hurt his ankle, and then it means we only still got 22 minutes of Aaron Wiggins. We got 21 minutes of Isaiah Joe. He hit 3 threes. We got 18 minutes of AJ Mitchell, which for the double Onyx, Diamond, Platinum, Titanium leagues, AJ Mitchell's getting minutes, and he's useful enough. And now we might have no Caruso. We've definitely got no Jeng. We've definitely got no Chet, and we might have no Kaysen Wallace. So that means that AJ Mitchell at least moves into a discussion for those super expert Sharks. On the Kings side of things, they rolled with the same lineup. Actually, that's not true. I created that same lineup graphic, and then at the very last minute, they did make a switcheroo. So that is actually false from me. Keon Ellis did start. He played 28 minutes, and he had 8 points. He hit 2 threes. He had 1 steal and shot 75%. I don't think that he's a must-roster player, but if he's going to start, then it does become a more interesting discussion, and you can take that flyer at least in 14s. Sabonis sprained his ankle but played through it, 21 and 10 with 3 steals and a block, and Alice actually sprained his ankle too and came back in. And DeRozan had 30 points. He had 6 assists. He shot really well. Last game was really quite poor from DeRozan, and he was still a minus 14. Keegan Murray, 14 and 10, 2 steals and a block. It's a much better run here of things from Keegan. Still not going to blow us away, I don't think. And then the conundrum that is De'Aaron Fox. I talked about this at length yesterday, saying I just don't know what to do with this guy because he'll shoot 70% from the field, then 20, and then he'll have a season where he can't hit free throws, and he'll go at 90%, then he'll hit his threes, and he won't do that. And now, what is this? 14, 3, and 5 on bad field goals and bad free throws? The ups and downs of this man is ridiculous. We got Malik Monk back in this one. He had 14 points in his 26 minutes with 2 threes. That's actually okay, and they've got a pretty jam-packed in schedule here. So Monk is worth doing because they realized that it took us 5 weeks, but Kevin Huerter, he's not worth it, man. He played 10 minutes, he went scoreless, he had 1 rebound. I don't know why this shit was so obvious to see, but now we're here.
Get that garbage out of
So yeah, I'm okay with using Monk. I'm okay with trying Alice, especially in those slightly deeper formats, because I think that you just got to take Herter out completely, and that is what they did. Even though, again, they lost, so maybe that's not what they do. We'll see. All right, let's give out some awards, shall we? The monstrous line of the night. Where does that go? Well, it goes to Tyrese Haliburton. 34 points, 13 assists, 3 steals, and a whopping 9 of 18 from 3. Hopefully he's back for good. The waiver wire line, I had to struggle to find this guy's photo. Lord Elfrid Payton. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 21 assists, and 2 steals. I really don't think that it's going to hold, but yeah, streamable, at least in those deeper formats. The young gun of the night, Eve Messi. Best performance we've seen from him. 16 and 13 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Probably still more like streamable than must roster, I think, but obviously that's a very good game. And then the dud of the night, Peyton Watson. 6 points, 0 rebounds, and 0 assists for Peyton. Not very good, clearly. Let's go in now and take a look at the top 6 of each category. Across the day, we'll start with the top six category league players for the action here. So I just make sure I got that everything looking good. Yep, we're good. The top 6 players today. Number 1 is Tyrese Haliburton, followed by Karl Anthony Towns, LaMelo Ball, the Jedi, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Jalen Johnson. Your top 6 waiver wire players of the day. We do start there with Elfrid Payton, followed by Neemias Queta, which good luck predicting that one. Eve Messi, Zaire Williams, who are interesting enough to have a look at. Moussa Diabate, short-term stream. And then Najee Marshall, maybe, but probably not, although they do have a weekend back-to-back. Your top 6 Yahoo Points League plays. LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Haliburton, Scotty Barnes, Karl Anthony Towns, Elfrid Payton, and Jalen Johnson. And then your top 6 ESPN Points League guys. Tyrese Haliburton, OG Anunoby, LaMelo Ball, Karl Anthony Towns, Scotty Barnes, and Elfrid Payton. Let's take a look. There were quite a few players in today's action that did actually leave the game early due to injury. So let's pay attention there. Cam Johnson left with the ankle. Like Jalen Wilson and Zaire Williams are worth streaming. Rob Williams III with a concussion. So Dwop Reith or Jabari Walker, I would try and hold Rob if I can. Jerami Grant left with a knee injury. So if Denny Avdia is floating around, you try him. Otherwise, maybe a little bit of extra there for Delano Banton. And then Derek Lively, the second, left with an illness. If Gafford's available, he's just a must roster anywhere. Otherwise, it's probably Muxie Kleber, but that's really just deeper league stuff. And then we had more, like I said, not just those guys that got hurt. We had 3 more other ones, and I didn't even include Cam Thomas on this list. He left the game with that back injury. Gary Harris left with the hamstring, so we look at Cole Anthony and we look at Mr. Black as both options, especially if Jalen Suggs remains out. Trey Lyles left with a calf injury for the Kings. That would probably be Alex Len for deeper leagues. And then Kaysen Wallace with the ankle. That means we go to Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and AJ Mitchell as another option there. And that, guys, I think that might do us. All right. Go ahead and hit the old double bang, the old thumb. Leave your comments down below. And remember, while it was a wild day, there were big performances, there were bad performances. I'm sure you did something good, whether it was in fantasy basketball, whether it was in something else. Maybe you cooked a beautiful dinner if you did. Hey, leave that in the comments. Tell me what you cooked. Tell me what you, if you did happen to get in the kitchen and do that. Or tell me what else you did. Maybe you wrote a song. Maybe you did a painting, did some, I don't know, whatever it is. But you did something good. Let's focus on the positives. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.